Hello boys and girls. I'm going to show you in this video how to do the math worksheet pages for this week. Some of them are a little bit complicated, so I'm going to do a couple of example problems for you so that you will know how to do them. So you may get your packet and a pencil and you can work these problems along with me. After I explain each page, you may stop the video and then complete that page before you watch the next part of the video about the next page. So the page that we're starting on is the Enrichment 2-13. This is the first worksheet for this week. And this is a page of subtraction problems. However, you're not just finding the difference at the bottom. You have to figure out what some of the numbers are that go in each part of the subtraction problem. So this is a little bit different. So I'm going to do a couple of these with you so that you can get the idea of how to do them. So we're going to start with number one. In number one, we're going to start on the right-hand side in the ones place, just like you would do with a regular subtraction problem. But in this column right here, instead of saying something minus 3 equals 4, I can either say, what number could I subtract 3 from to get 4 as an answer? Or I can also work backwards using the inverse operation. Inverse means opposite. So if I'm subtracting going down, then I could add going up. So 4 plus 3 is 7. And if I put a 7 in this box and then do the subtraction, 7 minus 3 equals 4, and that works correctly. Now, the next column, I'm going over to the tens column. This column is a little bit more complicated because this column says 0 minus something equals 9. Now, we know that you can't take anything away from 0. So in order for this column to work and have an answer of 9, I'm going to have to do borrowing or trading in this column in order to get an answer of 9. So let's see what would happen if I borrow 1 from the 8. I'm going to make it a 7. And then I'm going to take that 10 or that 100 that I borrowed and make it 10 tens. And then this is going to be a 10 right here. So I borrowed 1 from the 8 and made it a 7, and I moved the 1 over here. What I actually did was I borrowed 100, so I changed this from an 800 to a 700 in the hundreds column, and then I changed that 100 into 10 tens. 10 tens equals 100. So now I have 10 tens in this column. Okay? Now I can do 10 minus what would give me 9 as an answer. And now I know that 10 minus 1 would give me 9 as an answer. And then the last column, I just have to figure out the answer. So I have 7 minus 2 equals 5. So that's how we do the first one. The trickiest part of this is when you have to borrow for one of the numbers in order to be able to subtract. All right, let's do number 2. Number 2, in the first column, the ones column, I have 6 minus something equals 4. 6 minus 2 equals 4. Now here I have 0 minus 2 equals something. Well, I already know that I can't take away 2 from 0, so I'm going to have to borrow. Now this one is a little trickier because I don't know yet what number I'm borrowing from. But when I figure out what number that is, I'm going to have to add 1 onto it in order to borrow that 1 to make this a 10. So I'll work on figuring out this number when I get to that column. But I know that I have to borrow from it to take 2 away from 0. So now I have 10 minus 2 equals 8. All right, now in this column, I need something minus 4 equals 1. Something minus 4 equals 1. Now, that would be a 5. I would put a 5 there. 5 minus 4 equals 1. Except that I have this little plus 1 here to remind me that I need to add 1 on that I can borrow from. So instead of putting a 5 here, I'm going to put a 6 here. Okay? Now, in doing this problem from the beginning, I'm going to cross off that plus 1 now. I'm going to do the problem from the beginning to see if this works. So, 6 minus 2 equals 4. 0 minus 2 doesn't work, so I have to borrow from this one. So, if I borrow from that 6 and make it a 5, then this would be a 10. 10 minus 2 equals 8. And now the number that I really have is 5 minus 4 equals 1, because I borrowed 1 from the 6 and made it into a 5. And that's how you do the second problem. All right, you can pause the video now and complete this page. And when you're done with this page, you can go back to the video to watch the directions for the next page. All right, the second page for this week's assignment is finding differences with multiple subtrahends. That just means you're subtracting more than one thing. Okay? Now, these are also story problems, so you're going to have to figure out what the problem is, solve the problem, and you can turn your paper sideways to work out your problem right here, and then put your answers on these lines, please. It'll make it a lot easier for you to grade. So here's the first problem. Carol could send 2,145 text messages in a month. Wow, that's a lot of text messages. If she sent 642 messages the first week and 827 the second week, how many text messages can she still send? So what I have to do here is I have to take the 2,145, I have to take away the 642, and I have to take away the 827 and see how many I have left. Now, there's two different ways that I can do this. I can do this as, it's going to be a two-step problem, either way. So I'm going to turn my paper on an angle a little bit so I can use this space to work out the problem. If it's easier for you to work out the problem on another sheet of paper, you can do that. So I can either do 2,145 and take away this number, minus 642, and then I would have 5 minus 2 is 3. 4 minus 4 is 0. 1 minus 6 I can't do, so I could borrow, or I could just say 21 minus 6 is 15. And then I have to take away this amount, minus 827. So 3 minus 7, can't do that. I can't borrow from the 0, so I'm going to have to borrow from the 5. So this is a lot of borrowing. So I'm going to make this 5 a 4. And I am having a little trouble seeing it because it's awfully small. So you might want to do this on another sheet of paper instead. So now I'm going to make this a 10. And then I'm going to cross off the 10 and make it a 9 and make this a 13. So 13 minus 7 is 6. 9 minus 2 is 7. 4 minus 8 I can't do, so 14 minus 8 is 6. So I got 676 that way. Now here's the other way that you could do it. Instead of doing two subtraction problems, which subtraction is, students are more likely to mess up on a subtraction problem than addition. What I can do instead is I can add together these text messages plus these text messages, and then just subtract once. So instead, what I would do is, instead of doing it this way, I would do 642 plus 827, and I'm going to add together these text messages from week 1 and these text messages from week 2. So 2 plus 7 is 9, 4 plus 2 is 6, and 6 plus 8 is 14. Now I have 1,469 text messages as how many she's already sent. Now I can just do one subtraction problem, 2,145 minus 1,469. And 5 minus 9, I can't do that, so I have to borrow from the 4 and make it a 3 to make this a 15. 15 minus 9 is 6. 3 minus 6, I can't do that either, so I'm going to have to borrow from the 1 and make this a 13. 13 minus 6 is 7. And 0 minus 4, I can't do that, so I've got to borrow from this 2 and make it a 1 and make this a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So again, I have the same answer, 676, 676. This is the way that I would recommend that you do it. Either of these two ways will give you the correct answer, 676. Okay? And all of these problems work the same way. Multiple subtrahends means that you're subtracting two things. So you can either subtract each one separately, or you can add them together and then just subtract it once. Okay? Please make sure when you're doing this page, especially if you're working out these problems on another sheet of paper, which I would recommend since you don't have a whole lot of space here, make sure that you are copying down the numbers correctly. Even if you do the problem exactly right, you'll get the wrong answer if you copied the wrong number. All right, you can pause the video now to complete this page. And then when you're done, you can turn the video back on to go to page 3. All right, this is page 3, solving algebra equations. Complete each algebraic equation below to determine the unknown number. Now, algebra is just a kind of math where we use letters to represent an amount, a value, which is usually a number. Now, in this case, I've given you some very simple addition and subtraction problems, but I've written them as an algebra equation. So for this one, 6 plus r equals 14, you have to think, what number could I put in there for r that would make this equation true? So 6 plus what equals 14? This is a pretty easy one. If you are confused or when you get to bigger numbers, you can switch these around and say 14 minus 6 equals what? Because addition and subtraction are inverse operations. So 14 minus 6 is 8, which means 6 plus 8 is 14. And in this case, r equals 8. Okay? Number 2, 12 plus what equals 18? 12 plus something equals 18. You can turn this around and say 18 minus 12, how much would I have left over? And that would be the value for f. 18 minus 12 is 6. And when you get the answer figured out, you should put it back in here and make sure that the problem works. Is 12 plus 6 18? Okay? Now I'm going to go down to the bottom. There are two problems down here. There's an addition problem and a subtraction problem. Both of these problems have been done incorrectly. So what you're going to do is recopy this problem over here and work it out correctly. Underneath, you're going to explain what would you say to this student to help them understand what they did wrong. Now, the most important part right here, make sure you copy the problem correctly before you solve it. Okay, so 4, 5, 6, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you're adding this up. Once you have it added up, you're going to compare your answer to this one and then see if you can figure out what did this student do wrong. And then down here, you're writing your explanation of what would you tell this student to help them understand why they missed this. And then you're going to do the same for this problem. Recopy the problem, 8,000 minus 5,999. Work out the subtraction problem. And then look back here to figure out what did this student do wrong and explain it at the bottom of the page. Okay, that's it for page 3. All right, page 4 is about writing inequalities. Writing inequalities. An inequality usually just means greater than or less than. Okay? We have 4 different symbols, though, that we can use for this, and they are less than, greater than, this is less than or equal to, and this is greater than or equal to. All right, so basically we just have these 2 symbols, and then we put an underline underneath it. So this part sort of looks like an equal sign. This part sort of looks like an equal sign. It's a little crooked because this is less than or equal to. Now, for this page, all you have to do is write the symbol for this part in the middle. Okay? So, x is greater than 5. You would write x is greater than, is that symbol right there, 5. And you can write this over here on the answer line, or you can write it right beside. Negative 77 is greater than x. Negative 77 is greater than x. Negative 11 is greater than or equal to x. Negative 11 is greater than or equal to x. And this is how you do this page. All you're doing is rewriting these statements using the correct symbol. And here are the symbols. If you want to write them down on your paper and what they mean, how you read them, you can do that. That's fine. All right. All right, the next page is pondering patterns. Pondering patterns. Complete the patterns and rules below. Then study the patterns and sort the problem numbers into the boxes at the bottom based on the type of pattern that results. Now, on this page, you're going to need to put the little upside down arrows with what you did for each step. Now, over here, they've given me a hint about what the rule is. This is a 2-step rule, which means I'm going to do -8 and then something else, and then -8 and then something else, and then -8 and then something else. So I'm going to come over here to the pattern, and actually it looks like I might have not very much room here, but I'm going to put a little caret or an upside down V, and 99 to 91 is -8. Just like it says over here by what's the rule. And now I've got to figure out what the next one is. From 91 to 89. 91 to 89. That looks to me like -2. So I think that this is -2. But now I have to keep going to make sure that it works. And then I have to fill in the rest of these blanks. So from 89 to 81, that's -8. So I'm back to the first step of the pattern. And then from 81 to 79, 81 is in fact -2. So I believe this rule is correct. Now I just have to finish this pattern. So the next one I'm going to do is -8. So 79 minus 8 is 71. Then I'm going to do -2 is 69. Then I'm going to do -8. 69 minus 8 is 61. 61 minus 2 is 59. So I've completed the pattern following this rule and filled out the rule. Okay? Now the next one has 2 steps for the rule, but I don't know what either step is. So I have to go over here and figure out what each one is. So 5 to 25. That looks like it might be, it could be plus 20, or it could be times 5. But we'll see what else we have here. 25 to 15 is minus 10. 15, no, I know that I'm not doing times 5 here. This is plus 20. So this one must be plus 20, not times 5. 35 minus 10 is 25. 25 plus 20 is 45. So I think that the rule is plus 20 minus 10 plus 20 minus 10 plus 20. Now I'm at minus 10. So I'm going to write the rule in over here. Plus 20 minus 10. Whoops. Minus 10. And now I'm going to go back here to this one and finish these last 3 blanks. 45 minus 10 is 35. Plus 20, 35, 45, 55. So I'm up to 55. And now I did plus 20 minus 10 plus 20. Now I'm on minus 10. 55 minus 10 is 45. Okay? So that's how you do that. Some of these patterns you'll notice have ... That means that the pattern continues on, and it's not a repeating pattern, it's a growing pattern. So let's just jump down here to number 4 and just figure out what the beginning of this rule is. So I'm going from 6 to 16. There isn't anything I can multiply by, but I can add 10. So if I put here plus 10, that looks like it would make sense for this pattern, that it might be plus 10, plus 20, plus 30. But if it's a continuing pattern and not a repeating pattern, I'm not going to go back to plus 10. Instead, after I do plus 30, I'm going to do plus 40, plus 50, plus 60, plus 70, and so on. Okay? So 6 plus 10 is 16, plus 20 is 36, plus 30 is 66, plus 40 is 106, plus 50 is 156, and then you can keep going from there. Plus 60, plus 70, and plus 80. Okay? Now, down at the bottom, you have 4 boxes that you're supposed to sort these patterns into. Now, some of them, the pattern goes, this pattern, the number goes down, then down, 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 down. The numbers keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. 99, 91, 89, 81, 79, 71, 69. So this is a decreasing. So let's see. Descending means going down. It's not a repeating because these numbers aren't repeating over and over. Let's see. So descending means going down, odd number patterns. So are these all odd numbers? Let's look and see. 9, 1, 9, 1. It looks like they all end in either 9 or 1. And 9 and 1 are both odd numbers. So number 1 is going to be a descending odd number pattern. So number 1 is going to go in this box right here. Okay, now let's look at this one. This one goes from 5 up to 25, down to 15. Up to 35, down to 25. Up, down. So this one goes up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Which one of these would that be? Well, it's not going down with odd numbers. It's not ascending or going up with even numbers. It isn't a repeating either. It's not the same numbers repeating back and forth. Alternating, ascending, descending patterns. Alternating means going back and forth between getting bigger and then smaller. So I would say that this one, 5, 25, 15, 35, 25, 45, I would say that this is an alternating, ascending, and descending pattern. And that's number 2. So I'm going to put a number 2 right there. And that is how you do this page. This page is a little bit trickier because you have several different things you have to figure out and work on all at once. Okay? And I'm going to continue the rest of these instruction pages in the next video.